Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Man of Truth. I want to talk about a message, and it's the message comes like a question, or the subject, or perhaps the topic, a question, and it's specific to the African people or Nigerians. When are we growing? And I think this is kind of attached to when I woke up this morning. I looked at my TikTok account. I looked at my platform on YouTube, and I saw a couple of comments. And trust me, it doesn't bother me. I know some people will say, "Oh, if it doesn't bother you, why why are you talking about it?" The reason is because I simply have the intentions to inform and educate people, not to mislead them or not to see my platform as an avenue to make money off people. So most times, it has been rare for me to come live and make videos on live, specifically talking to Africans or talking to Nigerians or talking to people, basically because of maybe my busy schedules and the rest of it. But when I made a decision to come live this morning, it's not because I want to be staying that long, it's just because I want to make it short and simple. And I think I want to open people's eyes, their perspective towards other ways of thinking. Because the first thing you can change, if you want to change anything in life, perhaps there's a pattern and a system at which you are living and you do not like that system. The first thing you have to change in your life is your thoughts. If you can change the way you think in life, perhaps you don't need so much prayers in life. Perhaps you don't need so much religious people within your life because your thought is a reflection of who you are. Your thought is more or less like your prayers. When you kneel down and you pray to God, no matter what you ask of God, if God perhaps give you what you request from him and you don't change the thoughts of how you actually perceive things, how you process your thinking ability, you will get back to the normal circumstance or this normal situation you find yourself, simply because God cannot change the way you think. It is your responsibility to change how you think. And no matter how God bless you because you pray very hard, you would come back to the normal process of the reality of your thoughts. The Bible says something, it says, as a man thinketh, so is he. I'm not a religious person. In fact, I do not encourage religion in many aspects of my life. But I understand its importance to those who needs it because we all are not capable of the same thing. Now, I encourage it in certain extents to say, if you can't go beyond this level, sometimes you need religion. I made a couple of videos, and one of them had to do with Dele Farotimi, the guy who is being apprehended, being kidnapped by the Nigerian police, who is today is Friday. I think I have to come up with content that are kind of that's good for the weekend, that is always going to be thoughtful. And for me, I'm more interested in thought-provoking content, content that will make Nigeria think. The honest thing that I have realized about Nigeria as a nation is that our greatest challenge is our thinking process. The reason why a lot of people love Nigeria, why too many people from many countries love Nigeria, it's not specifically because of our intelligence. It is because of our energy level, our vibration level. Now, we are filled with so much energy. That means we have what we call um, a high frequency of life force within us. But our thought is where we have our challenges. Our thought is our problem. And so people would ask themselves, why is this great country with mineral resources and this country with great people around, these people that are so energetic and they have great vibration, why is their economy, or why is it that things are not flourishing well for them in a society that has this kind of people? And the reality is because we are deficient in our thinking process, but we are high in our vibration and in our energy. I will repeat that one more time before I proceed. People love Nigeria because we have so much energy and we have so much vibration that wherever we go, it echoes towards the environment. But when people look at Nigerians and they ask themselves, why is it that these people are still striving to be able to survive, to have a good economy, to have a good nation? It is solely because we have great energy, but our thinking process, the vibration is very low. This is not associated to all Nigerians, but I would say majority of the time. And I would say majority of the population. And the reason, you can look at the society and you can tell we have so much believers than so much thinkers. There are a lot of people who would believe more in things than they think independently on their own. But you ask yourself a question: why is it that if Nigerians find themselves in a different nation where the system actually functioning, why is it that Nigerians will flourish very fast and they'll be able to grow exponentially in that country? It is solely because that system is thinking for them. And so some of them don't have to necessarily think independently, but all they can do is to work with that system. And because they already have the energy and they have the right vibration, it is easy for them to overcome those who are just educated, but there's a system that is thinking for them. And now they have the energy and the vibration to overcome whatever is going on within that society. And this is one trick. I believe most people would not admit it, but in reality, that is what is playing out. The problem we have today is that as Africans, there were times when we do things, or whenever we move towards any path that is wrong, we have certain individuals who will call our attention and tell us, oh, what you're doing is definitely wrong. You have to change the dynamics or the pattern at which you are going around, because this pattern is going to lead you towards this particular direction. And so, like I said earlier, the challenges we are having as Nigerians is the problem with the way we think. We may come up and, the problem is that sometimes we have too many ideas, and we think that idea simply means if I can come up with maybe information that look inspiring, or ideas, or I can have a dream, or I have a vision. Because I have a vision does not mean I am a great thinker. Because I have ideas does not mean I am a good thinker. Because I have a dream does not mean I am a good thinker. Because I have a lot of energy and a lot of vibration does not mean I am a good thinker. Because I work very hard does not mean I am a good thinker. This is one thing that Nigerians have not been able to come to a conclusion to see this for what it is. This is the reason why when we talk about critical thinking, I call myself in my channel, I use the word the man of thought, not because I know how to think or I'm a best thinker. The reason is specifically because I wrestle with my thoughts day in and day out. If you give me anything that is good, I have to find something bad in it. I have to criticize, no matter how good it is. I have to find something to criticize about that good thing. And I have to balance it with the evil side. Not because I want the evil inside of it, but basically because you are going to be naive to think that an object can only work for something good and it cannot work for something bad. You have to be able to balance the aspect of the good and evil so you know when you should embrace it and you know when you should be careful of it, even in an idea. And so when we look at people like Very Dark Man, someone like Very Dark Man in today's society has been doing a lot of good things. In fact, a lot of things that many activists, musicians, and a lot of people have been doing within the society, even more than a lot of politicians. And so you see a lot of people rally behind those people, like VDM. Let me bring your notice to it. I am one of his fans. But I am not a believer. I would follow and I would watch, but I am not a believer. And so I am looking at whatever anyone is doing. What can I learn from what they are getting right? What can I see in what they are doing that is actually wrong? And then, if I love them enough, I have to call them out when they are doing something wrong so that they can stay grounded in focusing on a lot of things. But the problem of a lot of Nigerians is that when we see someone does something good, if 60 or 70% what they do is good, we don't look at the 30% of whatever they do that is wrong. And then we just worship them and we keep following them. And then we follow them to the extent where they go and they do things that become so destructive and it affects them in one way or the other. And so I made a video not quite long and I spoke about the idea of Coco P, who tends to be the friend of Very Dark Man. And also, I think I would address the case of this particular man who comes from Ondo State, who arrested Dele Farutimi, who is in the custody, who is in the correctional center somewhere at Ekiti. I'm from Ondo. I'm from Ondo State. But when I watched what was going on, it was a little bit terrible. It's not even a little bit terrible. It's exactly what Dele Farutimi was actually pointing at with this man they call, what's his name again? Afe Babalola. I would definitely address it. The man is from my place, but I'm going to criticize or have there are a lot of things about that man I have to be able to critique at this moment. And I wouldn't say I'm not a tribalistic person. I don't know what it means to be tribalistic. I only know what is good and what is bad. I only know what is good and what is bad. But I think that the problem that we have as Nigerians is that certain progress that we should have attained as people, we are the one that is obstructing our success simply because the ability to think is kind of rare within the society. And then it is easy for us to criticize things when we cannot think about it. Now, when I say the word that one of the deficiency of a great country such as Nigeria, that we cannot, the problem is because we can't think, even though we have great energy, we have good vibration and the rest of it to a certain extent. But the problem is because we can't think. The reason is simply because where people do not think, you see them result to judgment every single time without bringing out any point. When they say no, they don't know the reason why they are saying no. It's simply because it's not suitable to their emotions. Whatever you're saying contradicts how they feel. And if they don't feel happy about what you say, they are not thinking logically to say, how can I counter what this person has actually said? Rather, this person said something and I do not like it. And because I don't like it, all I have to do is to put anything possible to make that person fall, so that person does not give me or does not criticize any of my actions to make me feel the way I am feeling at the moment. And this is what we have been resorting to in Nigeria. This is more or less like a pattern in Nigeria society. And if we expect for once that this country is going to be good, or if we expect for once that we are going to progress, it is the pattern of how we do things in Nigeria that we have to change. And this is the reason, when it comes to the religious people also, when you talk to them and you say, oh, one of the problem of Nigeria is that there are too many religious factors to the country. A lot of those people who tend to be a believer, because a lot of them are just believers and they are not thinkers. Most of them will tell you religion is not a problem of Nigeria. They would not ask you, why did you say that? They are not willing to have open dialogue. They are not willing to question anything. They are not willing to think. They are just religious fanatics, believers. And this is not to criticize the religious people. I'm not talking about all the religious people. I'm just saying majority of them. They are not willing to share your point. They are not willing to understand where you're coming from. And I always say this: what you believe, you don't know. Whatever you believe as a person, you actually don't know that thing. The question is this: do you believe in your mother, or do you know your mother? The answer is, you know your mom, you know your dad, you know your brothers, you know your sisters to certain place. You know, okay, we came from this home. You know, my mom gave birth to this person. But something that you don't know, you believe. So when they talk about God, you believe. You give him the attributes that he does not have. I'm not saying God does not exist. A man who says God does not exist and a man who says God exists, both of them are in the same boat. They are only paddling towards different direction. Do God exist? Do you have conscience, or are you conscious? As much as you're conscious, there's something deeper beyond you that you don't understand. And on that factor, what is beyond our comprehension, there's a God factor around it. That the meaning of God simply means a supreme. There's a supreme being. And when we use the word supreme being, we are not talking about human being. We are talking about a supreme entity. But a lot of people would say, I believe God says I should do this. 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 Have you heard the voice of God, or have you heard voices in your head? Can you differentiate the voices in your head from the voice of God? Now, when they say that the problem of Nigeria is that we have too many religious factors within the society, what most times a lot of people might be implying, some people, they just hate religion and that's why they are saying it. But the reason why they are saying is this. When you look at too many people who tends to be the believers of a religion, most of them do not think, most of them do not question things. And the problem of religion is that it creates believers, and believers are not independent thinkers. They are followers. Fela Nicola Pokuti referred them as zombies. What you ask them to do, they just do it. This is the voice of the pastor. This is the voice of the... As long as there's a biblical passage that supports whatever they want to do, they just go towards that direction. No thinking, no break, no jar, no sense. They just go. And then, the more you don't use your senses, this is one beautiful thing about the gift of life, or the gift of human's body, our biology, the system, whatever we have been able to invent or create as humans. Whatever you don't use becomes useless. And when I say useless, simply means they are not going to be used, and so they are being used less, not in the insultive way, but in the fact that it becomes useless. So that means if you don't train yourself to be a great boxer, your hands cannot be as fast as a boxer. If you don't create your legs to be able to run every single time, you cannot be a fast runner. The same thing is applicable. If you don't use your brain every single time, you cannot be a good thinker. And Nigerians, we have less thinkers. Do we have energy? Yes. Do we have vibrations? Yes. Can we shout and scream and the whole world is going to hear us? Yes. And the world feel the energy and the vibration of Nigeria, that these people are strong. But strength does not mean intelligence. And that is the problem. I wouldn't want to go too far this morning. One of the things we need to learn to do as people, before I criticize anyone, I try my possible best to criticize myself first. And when I say I criticize, there's a difference between critique and there's a difference between judge. And you must be able to come to that understanding to know that just because I criticize what you do doesn't mean I'm judging you for what you do. To judge one is to condemn that person. So when I tell someone, just because you are the Moses, just because you have a great friend, just because you have things and you have been doing a lot of good things within the society, doesn't mean you can do what is wrong. But when you do something that is wrong, a lot of people have the right to be able to call you if they truly love you and say, what you are doing is actually wrong. Can you think about your actions? And the moment we do that, we have created a society whereby we can't talk to each other. We can't call each other whenever we do something wrong. And whenever someone call you out and tell you that, oh, what you are doing right now is wrong, you say, oh, that's a bad energy. That's a bad vibe. You are giving me bad vibes. I want good vibes. Good vibes when your life is stuck in a particular location. You ain't moving forward. You ain't moving backward. You're just stagnant. We are so interested in giving me positive vibes without positive thinking? How can you have positive vibes without having positive thinking? Positive thinking is you have to criticize between good and bad and ask yourself, how can you come out of something? How can you create something that can be useful? And the reality is this: when you are a good thinker, you are of a beneficiary to yourself and to the people around you. The problem is that we have too many people who does not think. All they want is to feel good, and so they call it positive vibes. And so, because your feeling is more important than your thinking, then you find yourself getting addicted to, if it is alcohol, if it is dancing every single time. This is why you see that everywhere in Nigeria, people are dancing. No matter how the economy is bad, you see those who are going to dance. Today tends to be Friday. The economy, we're having great challenges there, but you are going to see people go to the club and they are going to dance their sorrows away. They would not think. Thinking becomes their enemy. They use their brain less. Why? They want positive vibes. There's an importance why God creates feelings, and there's an importance why God creates logic. I would most likely come back live later today because I just have to say hi to my children and I have to play around a little bit. But I have a lot to say and I don't want to talk too much, so I talk out of point. Because if you think you're a good thinker or you're a good speaker, you should also understand the time to speak and the time to be quiet. I would wait till the right time because I just woke up this morning and I know I'm not fully awake, regardless of whatever I'm saying. It might make sense, but I'm not fully awake. So I need to fully wake up and then I will be back to the conversation, most likely today or probably tomorrow. This is Mr. DJ Bulus KD. I think I've received a lot of message from you. Thank you very much. Good morning, sir. Yeah, most likely will be coming live. CC Motion says, hello, man of thoughts 100. Yeah, yeah. Good morning, CC Motion. Been a while. Been a while. If there's any question you really want to ask me this morning, or perhaps you just want to say hi to me, I appreciate everything. Please double tap your screen and just give me some like before I go off. But if you have any question you can ask this morning, I'll try my possible best to be able to answer. But we need to learn how to think. Thinking, you know, if you are not thinking, if you're not a great thinker, there is nothing I wouldn't judge you, or I wouldn't say there's something wrong because certain individuals are not thinking. It's just your thought is just like a tool. It's just like a knife. A knife can be used to cut things, a knife can be used to hurt yourself. So thinking is one of the gifts that is given to mankind that we can use in different directions, and it's going to serve us well, and it can also hurt us. But we actually, if we love ourselves as people, we need to understand that there are certain tools that are being given to us that we have to work upon, and that comes from the idea of us thinking as people independently on how we can contribute positively to the society. It is out of our thought that is where our actions come from. But sometimes we need to also be aware that a lot of us have what we call limited thoughts. And because the pattern of our thought is just so small, and you can also look at it from maybe in the way I express myself, there's an amount of English language or expression I have. And I wouldn't speak beyond that particular perimeter. But what I can do is that I can learn more and expand my language capacity. And then I can bring in more grammar and we can add more and the rest of it. And everyone will say, oh, this guy know how to speak. But English is not my mother's tongue. It's not my mother's language, but I can expand on it. But I have to work with my brain, read a lot, and expand my thoughts. This is how we can expand our thought, and so we can act, or we can have more actions that are going to be positive within the society. But with that being said, I appreciate DJ Bulus on CC Motion 1998. I most likely will dive into the subject more probably by tomorrow. I don't know how my schedule today is going to look like, but I will definitely be back, and I will keep out of, maybe what I'm going to do is I will create a notification maybe 5 hours before I go live. And so those who can see it will be able to see it before I move live. Thank you, everyone. Hope to see you tomorrow, definitely tomorrow on the live stream by 5 p.m. tomorrow. I think that's what I'll be doing. Hope to see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye bye for now. Adios, amigos. Mm.